This has always been a holy week. Happy solstice, everyone. This has always been a time of celebration for our ancient ancestors. Even in ancient Rome, they celebrated Saturnalia, which had some role reversal. They brought in evergreen. They feasted. They served one another. They celebrated. They had red ribbon. And our ancient ancestors, all the way even in now, the Baltic areas and the Lithuania area, they still celebrate. These traditions are very strong. Even in England and Ireland and Scotland, these traditions are still very honored. And most of our Christian traditions come from pagan background. And I know, nobody wants to hear that. During solstice, the sun stands still. Our ancient ancestors used to think that the sun was dying, that it took the sun 3 days to die, to only rise again and move on, to bring in the light, to bring in the new. Sound familiar? How long did it take Jesus to die on the cross, to only rise again, to bring in the light, to bring in the new? These stories have been repeated for thousands of years. We've been following the same stories, just different characters. Now, I am not poo-pooing Jesus. I love Jesus very much. But I also honor where it all comes from. And I connect and bridge them. Because I honor it all. I honor it all. And just like to be connected to the divine, to be connected to the Holy Spirit, they tell us that our ego must die, that our pride has to be set aside so we can be more connected to the divine in the heavens. And if we are following someone who puts their ego and pride before everything else and before God, then we are not following the right person. Pride and ego is a dangerous, slippery slope. So we watch the sun slow down, only to move forward and rise again, to bring back the light. Scotland, Ireland, even Germany has their own stories. Odin is very connected to Santa Claus, believe it or not. Odin, yes, he's a warrior, but during this season, during this time, Odin got on his horses, on his chariot, and he rode from rooftop to rooftop. And people would leave out carrots for the horses and snacks for Odin. And he would bring the spirit of the warriors home and take them to Valhalla. Right? Sound familiar? A spirit flying through the sky on a chariot with horses, landing on rooftops to call home, and people would leave sweets and snacks out for them. Even we had carolers. In ancient times, we had carolers. They weren't called carolers. I think they were called wheelers or something like that. But it wasn't called carolers until later. But it is an ancient tradition that was passed on to Christian Christmas. They would sing. They would stand at the threshold of the door. In ancient times, the threshold of the door was sacred. And if they did good, they would get treats and mead and beer. And they would go to the next house and sing, hoping to get through the threshold for gifts. People would make a plate for their loved ones, for their ancestors that have passed over. Last night, on the 20th, we celebrate Mother's Night, which is really the beginning of, the solstice and Yule, really. I mean, Mother's Night is we honor our ancestors. And just like Mother Mary, when Jesus was crucified, Mother Mary had her role when Jesus was whipped and hung on the cross for 3 days, and she watched him die. Well, your ancestors always worshipped a mother before the sun stood still for 3 days. The ancient ancestors, the women before us, your grandmother, your great-grandmother, we honor them the day before solstice. We light a candle for them to bring in the light. They are supposed to be protecting us from the other side, watching over us, taking care of the children and our hearth and home. The hearth and home, the fireplace, the fire, was very important to survive. I always think of my grandmother, my mother, my aunt, and I always show appreciation for all the women that are in my life that have influenced me and who have touched me today. I give thanks to them. Even my enemies that might hate me, I give thanks to them on Mother's Night. I think of people like Harriet Tubman, Mother Mary, Joan of Arc, women in our history who made great sacrifices for the future generations. I think of those women and honor them and light a candle for them. Just like Mother Mary is honored before Jesus was crucified and died 3 days later to rise again. These traditions repeat. And I'm not saying that someone's religion isn't real. I'm just saying that these stories have existed for hundreds of years. And we need to respect the history of it. And instead of judging someone for still honoring these ancient stories and these ancient traditions, know your history and know where it comes from. Just like the ego must die, the pride must be set aside to be born again, to renew. We set our ego aside so we can have more compassion and generosity in our lives, so we can help our neighbors, people in our community or in our village. Our ancestors did the same thing. They would gather around a big fire and they would make oaths to each other, kind of like a New Year's resolution, right? That's why we have a New Year's resolution, because in ancient times they would stand up before the village and make an announcement that they were going to be better, that they were going to change a certain thing about them, that it no longer served them. And the village held them to it, just like we do today. We burnt the Yule log. We honored Kali Leia. She is an ancient, she's not really a goddess, but she's the woman of winter, the old crone of the cold, dark nights. She was honored as well. Sometimes they would carve her face into the Yule log, and the Yule log was burned the night of solstice, and it would be burned for 12 days to celebrate the light. And Kaliela, she walked the woods, she took care of the deer, she took care of the woodland creatures during the coldest nights of winter, during the snowstorms when Mother Gaia was put to sleep. I always wonder, where do the deer go? Where do the deer go? Well, the ancients believe that it was the old crone that took care of them, because they would just come back out during the spring. All the deer would just reappear. Where do they go during blizzards? Right? So they would burn the Yule log. They would take the ash from the Yule log and they would scatter those ashes mixed with milk our goat's milk are mixed with mead, our wine, our beer, and they would scatter it among the farm fields. So they would bring in the harvest. So they would grow healthy, good food for the new year. They would sprinkle this ash in milk, honey, and wine or mead or beer, and sprinkle it around the oak tree, or sprinkle it around the apple trees, the yew trees. They were all sacred trees. As above, so below. So, during this time, I honor these ancient traditions. I celebrate Yule, I celebrate the solstice, and I celebrate Mother's Night because my ancestors did. And I also celebrate Christmas with my family. Doesn't matter what you do. And even if you live in an apartment and you cannot burn a Yule log and you cannot collect the ash, don't worry. Just burn a tea light. Even if you don't have a tea light, you can burn a birthday candle. It does go to your junk drawer and find an old birthday candle. It's the thought that counts. It's the thought that counts. That's it. And if you can, jump over that little tea light candle. Jump over it to bring in the new year. Jump through the fire. That the fire wasn't going to consume you. That the darkness isn't going to consume you. And that you will make it to bring in the new year. To bring in the light. Rebirth. Renewal. The ego must die to be closer to the divine. And if you are following someone that puts their ego and pride before their own people, and that they don't care, that their ego and pride doesn't care about the civil unrest, and they're more concerned about building big ballrooms or putting their name on a building, is more important than rebuilding our communities. If you're following someone who constantly belittles and degrades and divides, that is not of spirit. That is of ego. That is of pride. God does not like these things. He does not like prideful people. Someone who has to bang on their chest just to appear bigger, stand on someone else's shoulders, belittle other people to make you believe that they're better, that you got the better man, because he can so easily degrade everyone else. A true leader will want to build each other up. A true leader will say, I don't agree with this person, but I want us to work together. I want us to rebuild what has been broken. You don't have that right now. This is a slippery slope. The ego and pride must die for you to awaken again, for you to be saved, for you to walk with the divine and be reborn. It's time this year that we clean out our ears. And if we're hearing more hate and more division than unity, then we are going down a slippery slope. I'm praying for our country this year. I'm praying that we become more united, regardless of our differences. No matter what religion you celebrate. Blessed be. I wish you many blessings for the year, whether it's Hanukkah, whether you light the candles for Hanukkah, whether you light the Yule log for Yule, whether you celebrate a Christian Christmas. I do both. I celebrate Yule and I celebrate Christmas. Happy holidays, everyone. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Blessed be. Take care of one another. Be kind to one another. We're going to need it. This is going to be a tough year. Blessed be.
What are they doing? Bye-bye. They're praying to the goddess for a good harvest. The goddess? The one Father Cuthbert doesn't like? and now she'll look after their seeds and make them grow all through spring. So these people don't like Jesus Christ? Some of them do, but others still pray to the goddess. Can there be a god and a goddess at the same time? Of course. It's just like having a father and a mother.